Now, continued the gazelle, one doesn't have to be acquainted with you long, in order to discover that you are very poor. This scratching a few grains of millet from the dust heap every day, and managing to subsist upon them, is all very well for you. You're used to it, because it's a matter of necessity with you. But if I keep it up much longer, you won't have any gazelle. I'll soon pass on due to starvation. Therefore, I want to go away every day and feed on my own kind of food, and I promise you I will return every evening.
Once there was a very poor man named Musa who begged from door to door for his living, sometimes taking things before they were offered him hastily. After a while, people became suspicious of him and stopped giving him anything in order to keep him away from their houses. So, at last, he was reduced to going every morning to the village dust heap and picking up and eating the few food remnants he could find there. One day, as he was scratching and turning over the heap for leftover food, he found a dollar bill which he tied up in a corner of his drag dress and continued to hunt for food scraps but could find none. "Oh well," he said, "I have got $1 now. I am pretty well fixed. I will go home and take a nap instead of a meal." So he went to his hut, took a drink of water, put some tobacco in his mouth, and went to sleep. The next morning, as he scratched in the dust heap, he saw a farmer going along, carrying a basket made of twigs, and he called to him, "Hey dear, farmer, what have you got in the cage?" The farmer, whose name was Mohammed, replied, "Gazelles." Musa replied, "Bring them here, let me see them." Now, three well-to-do men were standing nearby, and when they saw the farmer coming to Musa, they smiled and said, "You are taking lots of trouble for nothing, Mohammed." "How is that, gentleman?" he inquired. They replied, "That poor fellow has nothing at all, not even a cent." "Oh, I don't know that," said the farmer. "He might be rich for all I care." "Not him," they said. "Don't you see for yourself," continued one of them, "that he is on the dust heap? Every day he scratches there like a hen, trying to get enough leftovers and expired food to keep himself alive. If he had any money, wouldn't he buy a good meal for once in his life? Do you think he can afford a gazelle? What would he do with it? He can't find enough food for himself without looking for any for a gazelle." But Mohammed said, "Gentlemen, I have brought some goods here to sell. I answer all who call me, and if anyone says come, I go to him. I don't favor one and ignore another. Therefore, as this man called me, I'm going to him." "All right," said the first man. "You don't believe us. Well, we know where he lives and all about him, and we know that he can't buy anything." "That's correct," said the second man. "Perhaps, however, you will see that we were right after you have a talk with him." To which the third man added, "Clouds are a sign of rain, but we have seen no signs of Musa being about to spend any money." "All right, gentlemen," said Mohammed. "Many better looking people than him called me, and when I showed them my gazelles, they say, 'Oh yes, they are very beautiful, but awfully expensive. Take them away.' So I shall not be disappointed if this man says the same thing. I shall go to him all the same." Then one of the three men said, "Let us go with this man and see what the beggar will buy." "Shh," said another. "Buy? You talk foolishly. He has not had a good meal in 3 years, to my knowledge, and the man in his condition doesn't have money to buy gazelles. However, let's go, and if he makes this poor farmer carry his load over there just for the fun of looking at the gazelles, let each of us give him a good hard whip with our walking sticks to teach him how to behave towards honest merchants." So when they came near him, one of the three men said, "Well, here are the gazelles. Now buy one. Here they are, you old hypocrite. You will feast your eyes on them, but you can't buy them." But Musa, paying no attention to the men, said to Mohammed, "How much for one of your gazelles?" Then one of the men broke in, "You are very innocent, aren't you? You know as well as I do that gazelles are sold every day at $1 for one." Still taking no notice of these outsiders, Musa continued, "I would like to buy one for $1. "One for $1?" laughed the men. "Of course you would like to buy one for $1. Perhaps you would also like to have the dollar to buy with." Then one of them gave him a push on the cheek. At this, Musa turned and said, "Why do you push me on the cheek when I have done nothing to you? I do not know you. I called this man to transact some business with him, and you, who are strangers, step in to spoil our trade. He then untied the knot in the corner of his ragged coat, produced the dollar bill, and handing it to Mohammed said, "Please, good man, let me have a gazelle for that." At this, the countryman took a small gazelle out of the cage and handed it to him, saying, "Here, master, take this one. I call it Banja." Then turned to those three men. He laughed and said, "Eh? How's this? You with your white robes and turbans and swords and daggers and sandals on your feet. You gentlemen of property and no mistake. You told me this man was too poor to buy anything. Yet he has bought a gazelle for $1. Why you fine fellows, I think haven't enough money among you to buy half a gazelle, even if they were 5 cents each." Then Mohammed and the three men went their separate ways. As for Musa, he stared at the dust heap until he found a few left over for himself and a few for Banja, the gazelle, and then went to his hut, spread his sleeping mat, and he and the gazelle slept together. This going to the dust heap for a few leftovers and then going home to bed continued for about a week. Then, one night, Musa was awakened by someone calling, "Master!" Sitting up, he answered, "Here I am." "Who calls?" The gazelle answered, "I do." Upon this, the beggar man became so scared that he did not know whether he should faint or get up and run away. Seeing him so overcome with emotion, Banja asked, "Why, master? What's the matter?" "Oh, gracious," he gasped. "What wonder do I see?" "A wonder?" said the gazelle, looking all around. "What is this wonder that makes you act as if you were all broken up?" "It is so wonderful, I can hardly believe I'm awake," said his master. "Who in the world ever before knew of a gazelle that could speak?" "Oh," laughed Banja, "is that all? There are many more wonderful things than that. But now, listen, why I tell you why I called you." "Certainly, I will listen to every word," said the man. "I can't help but listen." "Well, you see, it's just this way," said Banja. "I have allowed you to become my master, and I can't run away from you. So I want you to make an agreement with me, and I will make you a promise and keep it." "Go on," said his master. "Now, continue the gazelle. One doesn't have to be acquainted with you long in order to discover that you are very poor. This scratching for leftovers from the dust heap every day and managing to subsist upon them is all very well for you. You are used to it because it's a matter of necessity with you. But if I keep it up much longer, you won't have any gazelle. I will soon pass on due to starvation. Therefore, I want to go away every day and feed on my own kind of food, and I promise you I will return every evening." "Well, I guess I have to give my consent," said the man, in a very cheerless tone. As it was now done, Banja jumped up and ran out of the door, with Musa following him. The gazelle ran very fast and his master stood watching him until he disappeared. Then tears started in the man's eyes, and raising his hands, he cried, "Oh, my mother!" Then he cried, "Oh, my father!" Then he cried, "Oh, my gazelle! It has run away." Some of his neighbors, who heard him crying on in this manner, took the opportunity to inform him that he was a fool, an idiot, and a confused fellow. One of them said, "You hung around that dust heap, goodness knows for how long, scratching like a hen, till fortune gave you $1. You hadn't sense enough to go and buy some decent food. You had to buy a gazelle. Now you have let the creature run away. What are you crying about? You brought all your trouble on yourself." All this, of course, was very discomforting to Musa, who took off to the dust heap, got a few leftovers, and came back to his hut, which now seemed colder and more desolate than ever. At sunset, however, Banja came trotting in, and the beggar was happy again and said, "Ah, my friend, you have returned to me." "Of course," said the gazelle. "Didn't I promise you?" "You see, I feel that when you bought me, you gave all the money you had in the world, even though it was only $1. Why then should I cause you pain? I can't do it. If I go and get myself some food, I will always come back in the evenings." When the neighbors saw the gazelle come home every evening and run off every morning, they were greatly surprised and began to suspect that Musa was a wizard. Well, this coming and going continued for 5 days. the gazelles telling its master each night what fine places it had been to and what lot of food it had eaten. On the sixth day, it was feeding among some thorn bushes in a thick wood. When scratching away some bitter grass at the foot of a big tree, it saw an immense diamond of intense brightness. "Oh!" said Banja, in great surprise. "Here is property and no mistake. This is what a kingdom. If I take it to my master, he will be executed for being a poor man. If they say to him, 'Where did you get it?' and he answers, 'I pick it up,' they will not believe him. If he says, 'It was given to me,' they will not believe him either. It will not do for me to get my master into trouble. I know what I will do. I will seek some powerful person who will use it properly." So Banja started off through the forest, holding the diamond in his mouth, and ran around, but saw no town that day. So he slept in the forest, and arose at dawn, and pursued his way. And the second day passed like the first. On the third day, the gazelle had travelled from dawn until between 8 and 9 o'clock, when he began to see scattered houses getting larger in size and knew he was approaching a town. In due time, he found himself in the main street of a large city, leading directly to the Sultan's place, and began to run as fast as he could. People passing along stopped to look at the strange sight of a gazelle running swiftly along the main street with something wrapped in green leaves between its teeth. The Sultan was sitting at the door of his palace when Banja stopped a little way off, dropped the diamond from its mouth, and laying down beside it, panting, called out, "Hold there! Hold there!" which is a cry everyone makes in that part of the world when wishing to enter a house, remaining outside until the cry is answered. After the cry had been repeated several times, the Sultan asked his attendants, "Who is doing all that calling?" And one answered, "Master, it's a gazelle that's calling. Ho there." "Ho ho," said the Sultan. "Ho ho, invite the gazelle to come near." Then three attendants ran to Banja and said, "Come, get up. The Sultan commands you to come near." So the gazelle arose, picked up the diamond, and approaching the Sultan, laid the jewel at his feet, saying, "Master, good afternoon." To which the Sultan replied, "May God make it good. Come near." The Sultan orders his attendants to bring a carpet and a large cushion, and desired the gazelle to rest upon them. When it protested that it was comfortable as it was, he insisted, and Banja had to allow himself to be made a very honored guest. There they brought milk and rice, and the Sultan would hear nothing until the gazelle had fed and rested. At last, when everything had been disposed of, the Sultan said, "Well, now, my friend, tell me what news you bring." And Banja said, "Master, I don't exactly know how you will like the news I bring. The fact is, I am sent here to insult you. I have come to try and pick a quarrel with you. In fact, I am here to propose a family alliance with you." At this, the Sultan exclaimed, "Oh, come, for a gazelle, you certainly know how to talk. Now, the fact of it is, I am looking for someone to insult me. I am just aching to have someone pick a quarrel with me. I am impatient for a family alliance. Go on with your message." Then Banja said, "You don't bear any ill will against me, a poor messenger as I am?" And the Sultan said, "None at all." "Well," said Banja, "look at this pledge I bring," dropping the diamond wrapped in leaves into the Sultan's lap. When the Sultan opened the leaves and saw the great sparkling jewel, he was overcome with astonishment. At last he said, "Well, I have brought this pledge," said the gazelle, "from my master, Sultan Ali. He has heard that you have a daughter, so he sent you this jewel, hoping you will forgive him for not sending something more worthy of your acceptance than this trifle." "Goodness," said the Sultan to himself, "he calls this a trifle?" Then to the gazelle, "Oh, that's all right, that's all right. I'm satisfied. The Sultan Ali has my consent to marry my daughter, and I don't want a single thing more from him. Let him come empty-handed. If he has more of this trifle, let him leave them at home. This is my message, and I hope you will make it perfectly clear to your master." The gazelle assured him that he would explain everything satisfactorily, adding, "And now, master, I take my leave. I go straight to our own town and hope that in about 11 days we shall return to be your guest. So with mutual compliments they parted. In the meantime, Musa was having an exceedingly tough time, the gazelle having disappeared. He wandered about the town mourning, "Oh, my poor gazelle, my poor gazelle," while the neighbors laughed and jeered at him, until between then and his loss, he was nearly out of his mind. But one evening, when he had gone to bed, the gazelle walked in. Up he jumped and began to embrace the gazelle and weep over it and carry on at a great rate. When he thought they had been about enough of this kind of thing, the gazelle said, "Come, come, keep quiet, my master. I've brought you good news." But the beggar man continued to cry and fondle and declared that he had thought his gazelle had passed on.